Hello, Hojoz here, and welcome back to Forza Horizon 4, where today we have a Renault Clio Forza edition going round the Ambleside Loop cross-country circuit, which I modified into the number 18 Verstopper Clio showcase. It has a length of 13.7 kilometers. My fastest lap around the circuit is 4 minutes 29.696, and it has 4 laps. Now, before we get into the race, quickly want to note one thing. I have fixed the audio issue, but it means that at 10 seconds we won't have a revving engine anymore. So I hope you're fine with that. Anyway, as we hit the 10-second to go mark, we should normally be hearing the revving, but it isn't doing it right now. And we are off for the first of 4 laps. Now we immediately head into a tough technical section with this first corner and the second corner leading into 2 hairpins, which of course requires a lot of braking and throttle control, which I'm glad to say I managed rather well in this race. It's actually 3 hairpins if I remember correctly. Yes indeed, there is the third hairpin. Again, braking, slowly feeling the car around and going onto the power onto a short straight stretch before we head into a very technical triangle, which, well, is quite tough, especially if you have this Clio FE. It's a slight bit of wheel spin, despite its all-wheel drive swap. Heading into a long left corner, which is rather fast, and into another right corner. Doesn't have to brake yet, but I believe I did right there, into a left. And now a left with a giant wall on the inside, which you have to get as close as possible to. Which I did there, but it means that the right corner after that I wasn't set up for correctly. A sharper left here, as indicated by the signs, and for this right you really have to brake. Doesn't look like it, but you do. Now into a 90-degree corner, which you have to take pretty much into first, as we demonstrate the oversteer in this car. Another left and another right. It is quite a fast circuit, this one, as we head into another braking point here. A bit of braking and hit the fences, so I was a bit wide there. Oh, it's a bit of a screen freeze. That is quite the unfortunate thing, but it is braking into a right. Doesn't really look like you have to brake for it, but trust me, you do, because if you lift through it, you end up wide. Another right then, a long right, which you have to be very careful on the throttle, and you have to brake for as well. Past the Durant water pass there, Durant dam, I don't know how you call it, over the bridge, into another right and a little bit of a screen freeze, and another bit of a screen freeze, into a left, and you have to brake immediately after this left as you have a sharp right on the bridge. You have to brake there. It is quite a tough braking zone, and for this corner you have to brake as well. It's a bit deceptive, but you do. Then into another left, of course taken at full throttle, another full throttle left into right, into this left-hander, which you do have to brake for again. Doesn't really look like it initially if you're driving from first person, but you do have to brake for it again. Heading on to the Horizon Festival now, into a right and then a left-hander. You do have to brake for a little bit, but maybe you can get away with a long lift. Braking early here so that we can get all the way to the inside of this right hand corner entering the Horizon Festival. Now if you have balls and if you've set up the car correctly, you can take this bit flat out as we brake now for this longer hairpin around the drift circle into a left and another 90-degree left, which of course you have to brake for because that's the nature of 90-degree corners, into the inside of a left-hander, immediately braking out of it because of that sharp right-hander, sorry. Another braking zone here for another right-hander, which is again a bit deceptive. Onto the tunnel, and another hard corner here, which is a little bit hard because of the hill that is there for the corner. At the end of the lap now then, we head on to a chicane section, which if you want to, you can just drive straight out, since I had a bad checkpoint layout there, but I didn't, since I want to demonstrate the correct layout of this track. And now a left-hander and into a right-hander, which is again a tough left and right-hander into a final left onto the start-finish and a second lap, which allows me to talk about livery, which, yes, I know, it's another anti-Max / Verstopper livery, but I quite like the car, so thought I'd feature it anyway. Additional sponsors include Pirelli, Elf, PFC brakes, and Renault, of course. And as we exit this corner, you can see that we are at the tail end of the group here already. The final two cars, three cars actually, heading out of the triangle there. A bit early on the brakes, so I had to corner cut there. I pretty much always corner cut if I'm early on the brakes for a corner. So yeah, anyway, the livery. It is not an exciting livery by any means, but it's a livery nonetheless. And it is quite the cool livery, as I do think so myself. The Clio FE then, I have put into S1 class, which I forgot to mention. It is an top of S1 class vehicle, unlike the Renault 5, which we ran last time. As I mentioned, I have all-wheel drive swapped it, despite the immense grip this car offers in A-class front-wheel drive. I only discovered that after building the car. As you can see, it also sports some Forza arrows, since it's an S1 class car, and in S1, S2 classes, smart idea to have some arrow on the car. Is my opinion. Although I do also have a Renault Clio in B class, which is a different car from a different gen Clio, but I have a rear ring on that, because otherwise the rear end just steps out like crazy. Anyway, we are, I would guess, around about halfway through this lap already, as we cross the Durand Dam bit here. We head onto the bridge here, which the AI loves to lift off at, so we overtake our first car, and carrying the speed into this corner, a Clio V6 will be overtaken as well. Late on the brakes, nearly touching the wall, but we made it work. And so far we have then overtaken a Megane and a Clio V6, which means that we are in P10. Of 12 cars. I do have it on average AI, but that's mainly because I want to be sure that I can do all the playlists events and complete them nicely. Anyway, we are heading on to the 9th and 8th place cars as we come onto the Horizon Festival section of the track. Of course, heading here, braking early, taking the inside of the corner. You can already see the speed that we can carry as compared to them. Braking early here, so that we can overtake them both on the inside, as another Megane and a Renault 5 have been overtaken. I'm running this circuit in a mode where only Renaults are driving around the course. So that explains why you can only see Renaults. But yeah, I quite love Renaults in this game, and Renaults in general are quite cool vehicles. The smaller Renaults then, because I'm not a fan of SUVs or CUVs or any of the like. As we are now heading into the B7 Renault Clio Forza Edition. Bit of a bump with him. but managed to make it work around the outside. A Megane stuck there, and heading onto the back of another Megane, which has a Clio in the front. Megane goes wide, and we can quite easily overtake the car. And here in front of us is a Renault Clio, which we can then cross into lap 3. We can switch back on and overtake as well. Going a bit wide here myself. That wasn't intentional, but we are closing on another Renault Megane, which seems to be sporting the GCK WRX livery. At least something like it, as we overtake it as well. It must be into something like 5th or 4th position by now. It's really going rather well. And we still haven't even talked about the track yet, as we're halfway into the video. Well, the track then, I got inspired running through the hairpin section, and then encountered this bit, the triangle here, and I thought, well, this would make a very cool circuit. So I went ahead and made a circuit out of it, and it quite conveniently crossed into the Horizon Festival. Here then a Renault 5, which I tried to cross back on, but unfortunately the lag doesn't show, but I touched the back of the Renault 5 here, unfortunately not being able to pass it, but later on I did. The Renault 5 running into my car, which I don't get why he did that, and passing the final Clio here in white to take first position already. I know, it's quite ridiculous. This car around this track is extremely fast, though I think myself that it can be even faster. I mean, you can argue that I should have turned up the AI difficulty a little bit, because I'm quite easily overtaking everyone. And honestly, I agree. I should have turned up my AI difficulty, but I didn't. And that's how I ran the race. And there's no going back now, as I'm quite lazy and don't want to record it again. Hitting the wall, the cobblestone wall on the inside there, destroying it a little bit. Yeah, it just happens when you go out wide over this bridge full throttle. It's just such a nice experience driving this car full throttle through corners, because of the immense grip the car has. Again, braking on the bridge here. I divided the braking bit into 2 zones, because I tried to replicate what I did on the first and second lap, which rather impressed me. Yeah, but the grip in this car, it's just a phenomenal car. You can get it around the corners at quite the speed, at least. That's what I experience driving the car in the first person. I always drive the cars in the first person in Forza Horizon 4, even though it's not a competitive game or anything, and it doesn't have indicators for people that are behind you and how close they are to you. I still just like driving in first person, because it provides less distraction. Me as a person with autism, it's quite nice to not have any distractions while driving, at least minimal distractions while driving. And thus I personally believe that driving in first person makes me a faster driver as compared to driving in third person. Anyway, there was a quite the fast section here, as we nearly hit the guardrail on the inside of that corner. Quite wide on here. I had to let go of the throttle, because otherwise I would have collided with the wall there, which is quite sad, as we are already near the end of lap 3 into lap 4. And I must say I got quite the gap to the other cars. Anyway, through that chicane section, that was really fast, and although it did run wide, I managed to stop it just in time based on feeling, and I was quite proud of that. And that is another thing. This car just makes you feel like you're a great driver, even if you aren't. because it's such an OP car. It is usually ran, of course, in A-class front-wheel drive, but I put it in S1 class all-wheel drive, simply because I think the car starts in either A-class or B-class, though I'm quite sure it starts in A-class, so I thought to myself, with builds I always like to go a class higher than the car originally starts in. Unless I'm building a D-class car, you really can't just go class high with that. As you can see here. By the way, quite the gap there with second place Renault, which is still the white one, I believe. Driving the final lap. It has gone quite fast, this video has. But yeah, losing my train of thought a bit here. Just bumping the wall. Again, the lag doesn't show that, but I bumped the wall and run wide on the corner after that. On the exit. Yeah, it was quite the dirty lap here. I didn't, the final chicane didn't cross that straight on. Still didn't, despite the sheer dirtiness of this lap, as you can see, running right into that 90-degree corner. Yeah, it wasn't my cleanest lap, but it just might have been my fastest lap. I can't quite remember since I haven't recorded this video today. This like a week or two ago, but was quite lazy and didn't want to commentate it. As you can see, there's still a bit of screen freezing going on, and my suspicion is that it's because of the recent updates in Forza Horizon 4 and Windows 10, which have made the two less optimized working together. At least that's what I read on the Failures Discord. That is the general consensus which is going on with the game. It's quite sad because you'll probably see the return of frame drops in my videos, as we get another quite large one here. Again, braking on the bridge for the final time in this video, as we head on to the final 2 minutes already. Just pushing it again. I mean, it's the final lap and you want to bring it home, but I have enough rewinds, so why not? Speaking of rewinds, into this corner I have had to use quite a bit of rewinds, especially here on the final lap. Use quite a bit of rewinds to get the braking right on that. And later on in the Horizon Festival section, that difficult uphill left, which nearly resembles a hairpin, I had to use quite a bit of rewinds through there as well. I have taken the section coming up here flat once, but I couldn't quite make myself do it. Here taking pretty much the entire runoff with me, ignoring the lines there, the white lines, pretty much having a perfect corner on a drift circle, as we now have less than a minute to go into the tunnel, braking, nearly hitting the wall and end up wide. That's quite sad, but I didn't use a rewind simply because I didn't really feel like it. Here again a bit wide, then nearly hitting the wall there and braking very nicely into this corner. But yeah, we're nearly at the end of the video now. So I suppose I should say goodbye to you, and I should say that the intro, or rather the outro song here, which will be playing soonish as we pop up the UI accidentally, will be Bureaucratic Voice Pop, as we are heading off into the final few seconds. Goodbye, and see you next time.